That's when we have class on the short stories.
I didn't get one with the grab them and they'll come to the library and check them out. I can grab it and hold it up and have a swap.
Oh, I've done that.
One for you.
Alright, folks. Let's give our attention. Mr. Rogers, please.
Hey everyone. Thank you for humoring me and honoring me to come in. I appreciate it. Handouts?
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. I only have 4 there. Do I have enough for everyone?
Did you guys get these?
You guys have some?
This table doesn't have anything.
Does everyone have one? All right. I've talked to you guys before, but about the team poetry contest. This time I'm going to actually do a series called Book Talks, and I'm doing this for a class. Typically I work at the Cameron Village Public Library, if you guys remember. This time I'm going to be talking to you about books that you actually might be interested in to read. And because this is a creative writing class, I decided to choose a topic that might actually be creative, that you guys can actually write about in some way from your own writings. So I chose dystopias. Now I will go ahead and tell you, at the very beginning, I didn't know what the word dystopia meant. But a dystopia simply is a work of fiction describing an imaginary place where life is extremely bad because of deprivation or oppression or terror. That's all it is. Can anyone think of either a book or a movie, video game, graphic novel?
Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Flies. I mean.
Lord of the Flies? Lord of the Rings is imaginary. That would have been good also. Any others?
Where are we, like,
Just times.
okay, like the Giver?
Yep. The Hunger Games is an excellent one.
Bridge of Terror.
Yes. Anyone know of like a video game that might be really cool? Halo would be good.
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy is phenomenal.
Call of Duty.
All of what?
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, exactly. What about movies? This one's probably the easiest one.
Avatar.
Avatar is one. Harry Potter. There's just lots and lots and lots. On the sheet on the back side, you actually see I've added a couple of those. So let's talk about the actual books that I chose for you guys to do on this. One of the things is I actually have to read these things. So I read the books. For the most part, I didn't do too bad. There was one that I was like, eh. But then once I finished it, it was pretty awesome. So, let's get started. I'm going to actually be doing a book talk on all 6, and it's going to be short. And part of my assignment of doing this was I have to do it in 3 different forms or techniques. The first one is I have to actually become a character in the book. So that's first person book talk. The second one is going to be just a descriptive. You probably, when you talk to one of your friends about a movie or you talk about a book that you've read and you just talk about it, that's descriptive. So you're familiar with that one. And then the last one is going to be an excerpt. So if you've ever been to like an author reading or poetry reading or to a book, to a coffee house and heard someone read something, whether it was their own work or you guys just standing up here, same concept. So it's just an excerpt to kind of give you a bit and piece of what this book is about. So I'll try to tell you which one I'm doing, but you should be able to tell because I'm holding a book. All right. So the first one is that I'm going to talk about is called The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. This one I'm actually going to get in character for, which is actually a lot of fun. It was tough to write it, but then once I started preparing it, it's kind of neat. It's almost like being an actor and writing my own script because I became a character. So let's see if I can do this. I'm not exactly an actor. I'm Todd Hewitt. I'm Todd. Todd Hewitt. I have to keep reminding myself who I am and where I am and what's going on because it centers me. It brings me back to something that I can actually understand. This past day has just been overwhelming. My nerves are raw. I'm Todd Hewitt. I'm 12 years and 12 months old. And in 1 month, I'm going to be a man. Todd. Me. Todd. Now, we're settlers here on New World. Well, we were settlers. We arrived here about 20 years ago. And once we got here, everyone just kind of went their own separate ways. Now, my mom and pa, they stayed here in Prentice Town. Not that there's a whole lot left anymore, but they used to be 2 stores, now there's only 1. There used to be 2 bars, but there's only 1 now. There was a clinic, non-working gas station still here. There's a big house where the mayor lives. There's the police station. And, whoop, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself just a little bit. We was all getting settled here in our new town, on this new world. with our new rules. But then came the spackle. Now, the spackle, that was really tall and thin. They had these long arms with these long fingers. They had a mouth in the center of their face. That's what it's supposed to be. They had ears that went down near the jaw. The eyes were black, like swamp stone. They didn't wear no clothes. They wore moss and lichen. It was weird. We tried to be friends with them spackles, but they had none of it. We went to war. They didn't use normal weapons. They used germs for their weapons. There was no way for us to fight against germs. Now those germs did things to us. The first one, germ that they did, it was supposed to kill all of our livestock. And it was supposed to make us hungry. It didn't kill the animals. All it did was make them talk. And God, do they talk. Have you ever heard a dog talk? It never shuts up. Now the other germ that they released, it killed all the women. It killed most of the men. But now the men that was left, it made their thoughts open to everybody. Can you imagine a world where you could hear everyone talking in their head? You wouldn't have to open your mouth. You just knew what they was thinking about. Hungry, thirsty, sleepy. I don't want to do this. But that's what the noise was. Noise. Noise was just all of us talking and talking and talking. Well, since my mom died from the germs, my pa, he died in the war. I had to live somewhere. I'm an adult man. I'm a man. So, being and killing up the street, they was farmers. They took me in. They took good care of me. They did. But then all of a sudden, yesterday, my world changed. I was out in the swamp with my dog. He never shuts up. Squirrel! All of a sudden, out in the middle of the swamp, there was a nothing. Now, there's not a nothing anywhere. Everywhere, there's something. Noise is always everywhere. But this was a blob. This was a shape. And there was nothing. That nothing changed my world forever. To find out what happened to Todd, you have to read The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. It is actually a series. At the very end, I wanted to scream because it left you on a cliff. And all you wanted to do was, what's happening next? And I had 5 other books to read. So, I'm not ready yet, but it is definitely on my agenda. It's an excellent, excellent book. Grabbed my attention. So now, let's move a little bit closer to home. That one was hundreds of miles away. It's a world. Now this one is called Feed by M.T. Anderson. And it's based on humans, earthlings, but it's far in the future, not that far, and they're going to the moon. I'm actually going to read an excerpt from this. Now, before I get started, I do want to let you know that in this excerpt, there is some common language, cursing. I'm going to assume that you guys can be adult enough to work with me. Okay? So, this is Feed by M.T. Anderson. I miss the feed. I don't know when they first had feeds, like maybe 50, 100 years ago. Before that, they had to use their hands and their eyes. Computers were all outside of their body. They carried them around with them in their hands, like if you carried your lungs in a briefcase and opened it to breathe. People were really excited when they first came out with the feeds. It was all da-da-da, this big educational thing. Da-da-da, your child would have all of the advantages. Encyclopedias at their fingertips, closer than their fingertips, etc. Now that's one of the great things about the feed, that you can be super smart without ever working. Everyone is super smart now. You can look things up automatic, like science and history. Like if you want to know which battles of the Civil War George Washington fought in and shit. It's more now. It's not so much about the educational stuff, but more regarding the fact that everything that goes on the feed. All of the feedcasts and the instant news, that's on there. So there's all the entertainment. I was missing a feed. Like the girls were all missing their favorite feedcast. This show was called Oh! Wow! Which has all these kids, like us, who do this stuff but get all pouty. Which is what the girls go crazy for, the poutiness. But the braggest thing about the feed, the thing that made it really big, is that it knows everything you want and hope for. Sometimes before you even know what those things are. It can tell you how to get them and help you make buying decisions that are hard. Everything we think and feel is taken in by the corporations, mainly by data ones like Feedlink and OnFeed, an American feed. And they make a special profile, one that's keyed just for you. I lost my place. Everything, there's a chance, and it will be just yours. Of course, everyone is like, da-da-da, evil corporations, oh, they're so bad. We all say that. And we know that they control everything. I mean, it's not great, because who knows what evil shit they're up to. Everyone feels bad about that, but they're the only way to get all this stuff. And it's no good getting pissy about it, because they're still not going to control everything, whether you like it or not. Plus, they keep like everyone in the world employed. So it's not like we could do without them. And it's really great to know everything about everything whenever we want. To have it like just in our brain, just sitting there. In fact, the thing that made me pissy was when you couldn't help me at all. So I was just lying there and couldn't play any of the games on the feed. I couldn't chat with anyone. I couldn't do a fucking thing except look at that stupid boat painting, which is even worse, because now I saw that there was no one on the boat, which was even more stupid, and it was kind of how I felt, that the sails were up and the rudder was, well, whatever rudders are, but there was no one on board to look at the horizon. Kind of interesting to think about a life where all of the information was just given to you. And they make words up, common language, because they weren't educated anymore. They were only downloading. Let me just put it into my head. Oh, I know what George Washington did. Oh, look, that's what the proclamation of such and such is for. It doesn't allow you to think. So, it was actually a really good book after I got used to the lingo. Some of it took me a while to go, Bragus, what is that? So, anyway, it was really fun. Let's see here. Lots and lots of pages. Alrighty. Now this one, everyone, you might have seen the movie, and that's okay. Let me go ahead and tell you though, like most things, the book is better than the movie. City of Ember. How many people have seen the movie?
It was.
The movie was bad. But the book is actually really good.
Yeah.
So, has anyone here read The City of Ember before? A few people? Good. So, let's talk a little bit about the City of Ember. The City of Ember was built hundreds of years ago by the builders. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, they've not left information behind until they need it. There are two main characters. There is Dune and Risa, R-I-S-A. So, Lena, L-I-N-A. Different character, different book. So, Lena and Dune are about 14, 15 years old, and they've just finished the last grade. Now, when you guys graduate, you get options. You can go to the military, you can go into the school, you can start working directly, you go to school, you can do lots of things. Well, in this book, you don't get that option. At the last day of the last class of the last year, they come in with a hat. These are the jobs that are needed to make the city that the builders created survive. So you get to walk up and reach into this big felt hat that the mayor has. You get to be in pipe works. You get to work as a messenger. You get to be a tailor. You get to do that for 3 years. You have no choice. At the end of that 3-year cycle, you get another opportunity to reach into the hat and get another job. Some people stick with it all their lives. Other people change every 3 years. The problem with Ember is it's starting to fall apart. Ember has gone years and years and years, and they don't have any renewable resources. So their city's falling apart around them. The lights are going out. They're the only light in the world. People occasionally go out into the darkness that surrounds them, but when they come back, they're crazy. It's nothing but darkness out there. You can't see anything. They don't have flashlights. They don't have torches. They don't have lanterns. So when they leave the city, they go into nothingness. And so they fall into canyons, fissures. They scream and say that there's monsters out there. It's kind of scary not to know what's in front of you. Am I getting ready to fall to my death? Is the monster getting ready to eat me? Then they come back to the city, to the light. So, Dune and Lena have decided something has to change. Lena finds this piece of parchment that the builders left behind, and it's instructions for egress. Does anyone know what egress means? E-G-R-E-S-S. It means to exit or to leave. So there are instructions to leave the city of Ember. But they're in parts because they're so old. They kind of fell apart. So she takes it to the one person who she knows can help her, Dune. She and Dune then go on pretty crazy adventures, get run after by the police, almost get attacked. The lights go out. They're scared they're not going to come back on. Sometimes it's scary just knowing there's only one can of peaches left in this world. City of Ember, the adventure. This is one of 4. So it's really interesting. I read this book in a day and a half. Could not put it down. It was just one thing after another. So, how many people have ever heard the adage, good versus evil? Most of us have. The next book I'm going to talk to you about is a book called Uglies by Scott Westerfield. This book is entitled Uglies. There are some people, up until the age of 16, everyone is ugly. They're uncorrected. They are natural. Pretties happens when you turn 16. And you have an operation to become pretty. So you get to be the right height. You're not too tall or too short. Your eyes become symmetrical. No more blemishes. Can you imagine a world with no zips? God, I would love that. Your teeth become straight. No more braces. Be nice, wouldn't it? So, this is Uglies by Scott Westerfield. At school, they explained how it affected you. It didn't matter if you knew about evolution or not. It worked anyway on everyone. There was a certain kind of beauty, a prettiness that everyone could see. Big eyes, full lips like a kid's, smooth, clear skin, symmetrical features, and 1,000 other little clues. Somewhere in the back of our minds, people were always looking for these markers. No one could help seeing them, no matter how they were brought up. 1 million years of evolution had made it part of the human brain. The big eyes and lips said, I'm young, I'm vulnerable, can't hurt you, and you want to protect me. The rest said, I'm healthy, I won't make you sick. No matter how you feel about it pretty, that was a part of you that thought, if we had kids, they'd be healthy too. I want this pretty person. It was biology, they said at school. Like your heart beating. You couldn't help believing all these things. Not when you saw a face like this. A pretty face. A face like Paris's. It's me, Tally said. Paris took a step back, his eyebrows raising. He looked down at her clothes. Tally realized she was wearing her baggy black expedition outfit. Muddy from crawling up ropes, through gardens, from falling among the vines. Paris's suit was deep black velvet, his shirt and vest and tie all glowing white. She pulled away. Oh, sorry. I won't get you muddy. What are you doing here, Tally? Now that she was facing him, she didn't know what to say. All the imagined conversations had melted away into his big, sweet eyes. I had to know if you were still. Tally held out her right hand. The scarred palm facing up, sweaty dirt tracing the lines on it. Paris sighed. He wasn't looking at her hands or into her eyes. Not into her squinty, narrow-set, indifferently brown eyes. Nobody eyes. Yeah, but, couldn't you have waited, Squint? Her ugly name sounded strange coming from her pretty. Of course, it would be even weirder to call him Nose, as she used to about 100 times a day. She swallowed. Why didn't you write me? I tried, but it just felt bogus. So different now. But take a look, Tally. He held out his own hand. The skin of his palm was smooth, unblemished. It was a hand that said, I don't have to work very hard, and I'm too clever to have accidents. The scar that they had made together was gone. They took it away. Of course they did, Squint. All my skin is new. Tally blinked. She hadn't thought of that. He shook his head. You're such a kid still. Elevator requested. Said the elevator, up or down. Tally jumped at the machine voice. Hold, please. Tally swallowed and closed her hand into a fist, but they didn't change blood. We shared that no matter what. Paris looked directly into her face, not flinching as she feared he would. He smiled beautifully. No, they didn't. New skin, big deal. In 3 months, we can laugh about this. Unless. Uglies actually is an adventure. They're talking about biologically changing the body. The question is, do we change the body, or should you be happy with who you are? So, again, this is a series. There's Uglies, Pretties, and then Specials. So it's a trilogy. It's a lot of fun to read. I haven't been able to put it down. So. Uglies. I'm almost done. Alrighty. This one was probably the most disturbing book that I read. So if you like disturbing, if you like chilling, this one is really cool. There are three main characters in this one. There's Donner, there's Risa, and then there's Lev. Now, Donner and Risa are the two main characters. There's a third character called Lev. Now, Lev is a couple years younger. I'm actually going to do it from Lev's perspective. I almost thought about doing it from one of the two main characters, but I wanted to see how difficult would it be to do it from that third person that's actually part of the story. It's a lot harder than I thought. So let's try this and see if it keeps your attention as much as it did mine, because quite frankly it was chilling to read this book. I'm cold. I'm wet. I've just been abducted by two unwinds. I don't know what to do. My shoulder is killing me. I have a headache like you wouldn't believe. My white clothes, my beautiful white clothes, are dirty. My mind feels like a fog. Now, each of these comes out at me like, BAM! As soon as I wake up. Good morning. I was on my way to my tithing. Do you guys know what a tithing is?
Like religious tithing.
Religious tithing. So let me tell you what about my tithing. My name is Lev. I'm a 13-year-old boy who has spent my entire life for yesterday. That was my entire purpose, was yesterday. I turned 13 yesterday. It was my birthday. I have a mother and a father who love me. They love me so much. They love me so much that they made me their tithe for their family. Now, in our religion, we give 10% back. I'm the 10th child to my mother and father. I am to be given in honor of my family. I am to be the ultimate sacrifice for my family. I am to go and be unwound. Now the book is called Unwind. What does it mean to be unwound? In this book, they created a way of saying, my hand can go to an artist. My eyes can be given to an airplane fighter. My heart can go to a 2-year-old. It has a tear. On the way there, we were driving down the interstate, and there was this huge pileup. And we were just waiting and waiting. My dad was there. My mom was there. Even my priest was there. He was my rock. He always had been. My priest had been the one person that always said that I was the ultimate gift. That I should be so proud of who I am. And all of a sudden this boy, all of a sudden rips open the car door, grabs my arm, and rips me out of the car. and then like uses me as a human shield. We're running and dodging between cars. There's smoke. Juvie cops are all over the place. Next thing I know, right in the back of the shoulder, I got a trank gun right here. Last thing I know, it went black. Now I'm being held by these two runaway unwinds, Donner and Risa. Now, Donner is a 15-year-old boy that's been getting in trouble all of his life. His parents gave him up to an unwinding because he was no longer being useful to society. Risa is a stay-hut, meaning she is part of the state foster home care system. Yeah, I always get that wrong. Now, they're not letting me go. We're running. We're running away from the juvie cops. We're running away from Connor's parents. We're running, Donner's parents. We're running away from everything that I knew. Everything that I held sacred. Everything that was important to me. There's going to be trials, tribulations, and cold, hard facts that I'm just not ready to face. I'm scared. And I'm mad. All at the same time. I don't know what's going to happen. Will I ever get to be my family's tithe? Will I send Donner and Risa to their unwinding? Will I get caught? Will I want to? Do I want to make it to 18 when I no longer can be unwound? Will I ever be ready? So, that's Unwind by Neil Shusterman. Again, this is chilling, to say the least. At the very end, or towards the end, they actually walk you through an unwinding. Yeah, it was freaky. I had chills reading it the entire time. So, wow. Just to imagine that there's technology out there, or soon will be. Now, the last one that I'm going to talk about today is Little Brother by Cory Doctorow. All right, so raise your hands if you have. Do you do? What am I going to ask? How many people in this room right this second, either on you or in your bag, have a cell phone? Okay? How many people in this room could go a week without it? Okay, keep your hands up. Out of the people with their hands up, how many of you could go that entire week with no TV? Without a computer? With no air conditioning or heat? I'm not going to repeat what he said, but the answer was no. You put your hands down. Most people in today's society have no way possible to go without their cell phone, without a computer, without the creature comforts of air conditioning or heat. Just a regular telephone or a toaster oven. How many people here could live without a microwave? It's tougher. So, all right, guys. Last one. So, Little Brother is all about a guy that is a techno geek. I mean, think about the person in your life that has the most gadgets, that absolutely would just go unwound without a cell phone. If they couldn't check their messages, do I have someone in this room? He just could not handle it. This guy right here. If you took all of his gadgets away, he would sit in a little corner and just kind of rock. Does that explain you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Alrighty.
No.
That's the main character in this book. He takes his cell phone and he rips it apart and puts it back together just because he can. He plays video games like it's his job. Am I still describing you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, good. So, that is your MySpace name? Oh my. It looks like a screen name, doesn't it? Or maybe even a password. What's it say though? Winston. Okay? Does everyone see that?
Haven't seen that.
The line is in.
W-I... Oh, I forgot the N.
Okay.
Sorry. I can't spell today. Is that better? Winston. Or Winston beforehand. It should be Winston though. How many adults do you know that's not in education would know what that meant? Or would they just go W-I-N dollar capital T 0? But what is that thing over the end and what does that mean? So that's the main character's online presence is Winston. He and his best friend sneak out of school. Again, I'm going to be talking about this guy essentially. So if you need a face to put with it. So he sneaks out with his best friend because they want to go play a real life, online scavenger hunt.
Oh, that's exciting.
I'm just going to put this to the side for you. So they are living in San Fran, and they're living near the Tenderloin, which is a section of San Fran. And all of a sudden, one of the bridges gets blown up by terrorists. Well, all of a sudden, because they're there, and they have all these cell phones and laptops and tablets and like embedded microchips. Again, they're a little bit ahead of the curve here. That they are seen as the terrorists who blew it up. I know, it's his fault.
I never get credit for doing things.
So they get taken away by Homeland Security, and they're detained for 3 days. Sorry, 3 days. There's been bombs. People are going crazy. There's Homeland Security everywhere. And he's in detention, essentially, away from his mom and dad. No one knows where he is. No one can get in touch with him because they've taken everything from him. And his best friend's with him, but he doesn't know where. Well, he finally gets out after 3 days, but he never sees Daryl, his best friend. So he decides he's going to find his best friend. He's smart. He knows what's going on. He can find anything on the intertubes or interwebs. Your choice. So he makes it his life's mission to find where his best friend is. Well, it ends up he actually gets in like this huge battle with the state, with the Department of Homeland Security. And they lock everything down. They start to mount face recognition software on all of the poles and the stop signs, outside of everyone's home, on mailboxes. They lock everything down. he creates something called the XNet. The XNet is something that can't be traced back to him because they say, oh look, there's a Wi-Fi portal over here. I'm going to pull 30 seconds off of this one, and then I'm going to go to the neighbor across the street, and I'm going to pull off of them. And then there's this guy, 400 miles away, and I'm going to, telnet into his and pull information from him, and then bring it all together so I can get a picture. So they're not getting all of the information from one place, therefore they can't find where he is. It's essentially masked IP addresses. Now, if you are a techno geek, you're going to love this. But if you like action and adventure, if you like to push boundaries, if you like to think, well, these are my civil liberties. You can't take them away from me. These are my freedoms. You can't take them away from me. This is the book for you because it makes you think. It's a lot of fun. And I'll be quite honest with you, I had to look things up because I'm like, I don't know what that is. When it was some of the technology stuff, I was just like, yeah, I don't know what that is. Sorry. And I had to look it up. I'm a little bit smarter now for it. Sometimes I wish I wasn't. But Little Brother by Cory Doctorow, actually a really, really cool book to read. I have a lot of that written down. So, those are my 6 books that I'm going to talk to you about today. I hope I haven't bored you to tears. Okay, so let's just go over this. Number 1, The Knife of Never Letting Go. I did first person on it. There's a quiz afterwards. What was next? Feed. I read a little something out of it. So there's an excerpt. Next was The City of Ember. We just talked about it. That's all. Uglies. I read you a little something out of it. Unwind. I became a character again. And then lastly, Little Brother by Cory Doctorow. Techno geek guy. We just kind of talked a little about it. So on your sheet that I gave you are some other books that are interesting. Someone said, I believe the lady back here, said something about the Hunger Games. That's a great example of a dystopia. Now all of these are very, very different. And that's kind of the point. You're in a creative writing class. Be creative. Now all of these fall under the genre of dystopias, but they're not all science fiction. So, I appreciate you guys letting me come today and talk. And hopefully, some of these books you actually find a little bit interesting. I know I actually enjoyed reading them. I read young adult fiction anyway. It's fun for me. But then getting to read some of these that I normally wouldn't kind of made me realize, hey, that's really cool and interesting because I would watch the movies. Let's face it, I would. I wouldn't necessarily have read these. So, what I want you to do now is, first, Mr. Titchner, thank you for letting me come in. I appreciate it. What I want you to do is, I'm going to give these to you. If you can simply fill these out and hand them back in, I would appreciate it. It lets me know, A, how did I do? And B, it lets me know what you guys are interested in so that if anyone comes back again to talk to you, I can actually provide you with a book talk that you actually enjoy. Good?
Where's my last name? Did you finish all your time? Thanks be to God. I'll do my role.
One last thing, if anyone wants to check any of these books out, I have lots of copies for a reason.
I want to do a one too.
Just let me know.
I have the 6 books you showed.
They are.
The library there.
We ain't able one.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I read it in like 6th grade.